Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the January 27th meeting of the Sacramento County Planning Commission. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Martinson?
Here.
Poley?
Here.
Hom?
Here.
Tatishi?
Here.
Shelby? You have a quorum.
Okay. I see some folks in the audience tonight. If you plan on speaking on any of our items on the agenda, we ask that you fill out your information on the back iPads. And for any of those that wish to speak tonight, please stand and we'll swear you in right now. Any folks?
Please raise your right hand, and the appropriate response is I do. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give this commission is the truth, so help you God? If you do not swear, do you so affirm? When you go to the podium, please state your name for the record and the statement, I have been sworn.
And if you haven't signed in, please go ahead and do so we know how many folks want to speak on which items. Let's get started. First item, please.
Item number 1, PLMP 2019-00144, Use Permit Amendment, Special Development Permit and Design Review. Owner is Merritt Hill Capital. Applicant is Nene K Management, located at 4111 Marconi Avenue at the northeast corner of Marconi Avenue and Norris Avenue in the Arden Arcade community. Environmental document is addendum to prior negative declaration.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'll be providing a presentation for the Marconi Self-Storage Use Permit Amendment Project. The 3-acre project site is located at the northeast corner of Norris and Marconi Avenues in the Marconi Avenue intersection in the Arden Arcade community. The project site is currently developed as a self-storage facility with outdoor RV and boat storage. There are 4 one-story structures located adjacent to Marconi and Norris Avenues, and 1 two-story structure located in the western portion of the project site that are currently used for indoor storage. Outdoor storage of RVs and boats occur along the northern perimeter and eastern portions of the project site. There is an office and manager's residence located in the southeast portion of the project site adjacent to Marconi Avenue, and the project site is zoned light commercial and is primarily surrounded by RD5 single-family residential uses. There's a church located west of the project site across Norris, and fast food restaurants abut the project site to the east. These existing uses and structures on the project site were permitted with entitlements approved by the board in January of 2012 for the former Marconi self-storage project, which included a community plan amendment and rezone of the project site from business professional to light commercial, a use permit to allow a self-storage facility and RV boat storage on the project site, a variance for a reduced rear yard setback, and to eliminate required landscaping and screen trees along the northern property line adjacent to residential uses, and a deviation from fencing requirements along the northern property line. Reduced front yard and side street yard setbacks are identified as approved design features for the project. With the exception of the 2 structures located along the northern and eastern perimeter of the project site, and these are labeled buildings C and D in the depicted site plan. Project structures and site improvements were constructed and the facility was operational by 2013. Although the deviation from the fencing requirement along the northern property line was granted, that wall was eventually constructed. It's an 8-foot tall wall, and the reason why it was constructed was because those structures in those areas were never constructed, so the wall was put in instead. The applicant has indicated that there is additional demand for enclosed storage space at this business location, and to that end, the applicant proposes to remove the outdoor storage of boats and RVs from the site in order to expand mini storage use. As such, the following entitlements are being requested: a use permit to allow the expansion of mini storage by way of 4 new structures, adding approximately 33,000 square foot of additional area, and the removal of outdoor boats and RV storage from the site, a special development permit Sorry, I don't know why that happened. A special development permit to allow for a reduction in required vehicular and bicycle parking spaces and design review to comply with the countywide design guidelines. The removal of areas currently used as boat and RV storage would allow for 3 new one-story structures, approximately 10 foot tall, located along the northern and eastern perimeters of the project site, as well as a new 2-story structure, approximately 22 feet tall, located in the eastern portion of the site. The 1-story structures are the typical roll-up storage units, and the 2-story structures have primary points of access to access the storage units inside the building. A total of 31 parking spaces would be provided in the vicinity of the 2-story structures and the primary driveway from Marconi Avenue. Our zoning code doesn't specifically identify parking requirements associated with this use. As such, the parking ratio of 1 space for every 2,000 square foot for warehousing uses is applied, which is the most similar type of use to mini storage. Staff applied this required parking ratio to the square footage of only the 2-story structures, as it is anticipated that patrons of the 1-story roll-up structures would not be utilizing marked parking spaces and would drive up to load and unload their stuff. With this application, 36 vehicular parking spaces are required for the project, and the reduction of 5 parking spaces is what is being requested in the special development permit. No changes are proposed to the existing structures, walls, fencing, driveways, landscaping, or signage on the subject parcel. Okay. The proposed structures are designed to match and complement the existing structures on site through use of similar color and accents. The new 1-story structures would be painted beige. Views of these structures would generally be screened by existing on-site structures, as well as the wall and fencing along the project site perimeter. The new 2-story structure would also be painted beige and include brick siding and beige aluminum canopies to match the existing 2-story structures and the office and manager's residence. This structure would be visible from Marconi and from existing commercial uses and residential uses to the north and east. The Design Review Committee, when reviewing this project, suggested that the brick siding on the south elevation of the 2-story structure wrap around the southeast and southwest corners to better facilitate cohesiveness with the existing structures on site, and this suggestion has been incorporated into the west and east elevations of the 2-story structure. These post-development perspectives depict views of the project site with project implementation. As shown, the most prominent view changes would be from Marconi Avenue to the south, as depicted in the bottom photo, and generally views from the existing residential uses to the north would be screened by the existing wall, which is 8 foot tall, and fairly dense intervening vegetation, as depicted in the top right photo. The final hearing body for this project is the Planning Commission. Substantive public comments received on this project include 1 inquiry from a neighbor that resides in a residence abutting the project site to the north. He asked for clarification regarding the height of the existing wall and the proposed 1-story structures, but no specific comments were made pertaining to this project. 2 other members of the public expressed opposition to the project due to the request to remove outdoor boat and RV storage uses from the site. These commenters currently store their vehicles on site and express that eliminating this use from the site would require them to park their vehicles on public streets, which would potentially increase vandalism, theft, and blight in their neighborhood. Staff received a call this morning from a person who is unable to attend this meeting but wanted staff to reiterate her concerns regarding the unintended consequences of removing outdoor boat storage from the site and how this will drive prices to increase due to the reduction in competition. The project is consistent with the general plan and applicable community plans. General findings can be made in support of the requested deviation. This site has been used for this use since 2013, and the project improvements would remain compatible with the surrounding existing land uses. The environmental coordinator determined that the prior environmental document prepared for the former Marconi self-storage project remains applicable to the current project proposal and identified no potential significant impacts as a result of the project. There are no mitigation measures, and an addendum was prepared to the prior ISMND. Both DRAC and the CPAC recommended approval of the project, and so staff is also recommending approval of the project and that the Planning Commission take the following actions. Staff is happy to answer any questions, and the applicant team is also available for questions.
Great, thank you. Any questions of staff?
Just one. Good evening, Jesse. Just one question. Hours of operation?
Hours of operation, those are in the prior use permit. Can I just grab it so I can tell you?
Yeah, that's great. I'm just curious what it was. I didn't notice it.
Making her look through the files.
So,
It does say 7 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay.
Oh,
That's
thanks,
good.
Chris.
Thank you. That's good.
Okay.
Thanks, Jesse.
Any other questions, staff? Okay, thank you. We'll bring the applicant up.
Good evening, Norm Kotash, and yes, I've been sworn in.
And you're in agreement with all of the conditions?
I am. We are.
Any questions of the applicant? Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
I do not see any public comment. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Okay.
Madam Chair, I did think of a question for staff.
Sure.
Just real
Go ahead.
quickly. Do I understand that even if the applicant had not requested this change, that they could choose not to provide boat or RV parking, that there's no condition that requires them to continue doing that, right?
So the zoning code in effect at the time when the prior use permit was granted required a use permit for the outdoor storage of boats and vehicles. In our current zoning code, this use is not permitted in the current zoning district. So if they wanted to continue it, they should not amend their use permit. They can surely remove it, but this is more in line with the uses allowed in our zoning code as of current.
But even if they didn't request a new use permit, there would be nothing to require them to continue providing that service, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Thank
as
you.
part of their business operation, if they wanted to stop
Yeah, I was just thinking
providing
of
that,
the people that were concerned about that this really is not a trigger.
it's a business
for their
decision.
Exactly.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Entertain a motion?
I'll move staff recommendations.
Second?
Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Next item, please.
Item number 2, PLMP 2019-00081, use permit, special development permit, and design review. Owner is TA Stockton Florin, LLC. Applicant is Tekin and Associates, LLC, located at the northeast corner of the Florin Road and Stockton Boulevard intersection in the South Sacramento community. Environmental dock is negative declaration.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Kimber Gutierrez, and I'll be presenting the 7-Eleven on Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road project. So the proposed project is located at 7171 Stockton Boulevard, which is the northeast corner of Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road in the South Sacramento community. The site is zoned shopping center and has been vacant for over 15 years. The site is located in an area predominantly consisting of commercial and light industrial uses, including automobile service uses, clothing stores, as well as drive-through and sit-down restaurants. The site abuts a larger, approximately 14 to 15 acre, currently vacant commercial property to the north and the east. So the request before you today is for a use permit, special development permit, and design review. So the use permit entitlement is to allow a 24-hour automobile service station and a 24-hour convenience store within the shopping center zone, as well as a taller fuel station roof structure above the design clearance height. The special development permit is requested to allow deviations from public street frontage, setbacks, landscaping, and signage development standards. And as you will see in the next couple of slides, there are two versions of the site plan and the landscape plans. So there's an interim and an ultimate plan. The interim reflects the build-out of public improvements within existing conditions, and the ultimate reflects the build-out of the entire corridor. So that includes intersection widening and dedication of right-of-way. So two of the requested landscape deviations, so the 20% landscape area and then the 8-foot wide landscape planner, are a direct result of the future corridor and intersection improvements. So I'll go into that more in detail later on when the site plans are up on the screen. The request also includes a design review to comply with countywide design guidelines, and a letter of public convenience or necessity will be heard by the board and is part of this development proposal. All right, so as I said, there are two versions of the site plan. So the interim plan is on the left, and it reflects the build out of public improvements within the existing conditions, so reconstructing the sidewalks and driveways in kind to meet ADA accessibility. The ultimate plan on the right reflects the build out of the entire corridor and intersection. So both Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road are planned to be 96-foot wide thoroughfares, and the intersection is to be widened. So approximately 166 square feet of the subject parcel would be dedicated to the ultimate build out of the surrounding roadway network. The site plans were designed in a way to accommodate both interim improvements and ultimate improvements. The automobile service station is proposed to consist of a 1,680 square foot fuel canopy covering 3 pump islands, and the convenience store is proposed to be 3,048 square feet. The fuel canopy is proposed to be located in the eastern portion of the subject parcel, with the convenience store in the western portion, and the drive aisle and parking area between the convenience store and fuel canopy. There would be 2 entrances to the convenience store, so one facing Stockton Boulevard and one facing the parking area. And as part of the special development permit, deviations are being requested for reduction in structure setbacks due to the size constraints of the site, and to create a more forward building presence on the intersection corridor. Vehicular access to the subject parcel is provided by 2 new 45-foot wide driveways, one on Stockton Boulevard and one on Florin Road. And a 20-foot portion of both driveways would be provided on the adjacent property through an existing ingress-egress easement, which was recorded on July 20th of 1964. Both driveways would operate with right-in and right-out turning movements. There are 7 parking spaces located at the interior entrance of the convenience store, and an additional 6 unmarked parking spaces at the 3 pump islands under the fuel canopy. In response to Sheriff Department comments regarding crime prevention through environmental design principles, a long-term wall-mounted bicycle rack is proposed inside of the convenience store building instead of the outdoor bicycle locker. This will eliminate potential hiding spaces and will provide 2 long-term secure bicycle spaces for employees. And in addition to that, a bicycle rack at the entrance to the convenience store will provide 2 short-term bicycle parking for patrons of the gas station. The trash enclosure and recycling enclosure would be located on to the northeast of the convenience store and consist of 8-foot tall masonry CMU walls and a solid gate and roof. The applicant is also requesting a deviation from the perimeter landscaping requirement for the trash enclosure. So here are the 2 landscape plans. So the interim plan shows approximately 75% of the subject parcel consisting of the footprints of the proposed new structures and paved areas, and 25% of it would be landscaped. So this exceeds the zoning code's minimum 20% landscape area requirement. The ultimate plan shows approximately 83% of the subject parcel consisting of impermeable surfaces, and approximately 17% of it would be landscaped. So the increase in permeable surfacing is a direct result of the ultimate build out of the Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road intersection right-of-way. So the applicant is requesting a deviation from the 20% landscape requirement. So in addition to granting the county right-of-way, a 23-foot easement for public utilities and public facilities on both Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road would be required. So this creates, as you can see, an alternative pedestrian layout and landscaping within the county right-of-way. The interim plan would consist of the attached sidewalk along the subject parcel's interface with the two roads, and the ultimate plan would be a separated sidewalk with landscaping on either side. The ultimate plan also does include more trees along the subject parcel. No trees along the roadway were included in the interim because, of course, it's going to change in the future. On-site pedestrian pathways with ADA-compliant curb ramps would be installed to provide a path of travel between the convenience store entrance, the trash enclosure, and the new sidewalks. And those improvements would remain the same across plans. So in order to capture the orderly development of both of these plans, conditions of approval were crafted to ensure that final development plans are in substantial compliance with the approved exhibits at time of project development and at time of the intersection widening and full corridor build-out. So that's conditions of approval 3 and 10. So all proposed structures on the subject parcel would utilize a color palette consisting of dark and light beiges with red and gray accents. So stone base would be featured on the red accent portions of the building, and architectural archways would be featured along 3 of the elevations and would contain either windows with wood paneling or some climbing vegetation. Signage on the subject parcel consists of wall signs on new structures, 2 monument signs, and corporate logos and advertising on the fuel dispensers on the Pump Island area. The applicant is requesting a deviation from the 125 square foot maximum sign area standard to accommodate the logos on the fuel dispensers. And then as you can see, the monument signs and fuel canopy would contain the same stone base as the convenience store for aesthetic consistency. And then you can also see that the trash enclosure would be painted and architecturally similar to the main building. An initial study and negative declaration was prepared pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act. It was released for public review on September 27th of last year, and the public review comment period closed on October 27th. So no comments were received during that review period. The initial study and negative declaration concluded that the project would have no impact or less than significant impacts to environmental resource topics. However, impacts regarding hazards and hazardous materials, cultural resources, and air quality and greenhouse gas emissions were discussed in the document. So there are mitigation measures to just kind of enforce mitigation implementation, notification, and verification of all actions. All right, so the South Sacramento CPAC, so the Community Planning Advisory Council, met on September 18th of last year to hear and consider the project, as well as review and comment on the general plan amendment to the environmental justice element. So 7 members of the public spoke on the proposed project. 5 were members of the county's Environmental Justice Advisory Committee and other community-based organizations, and they were all in opposition of the project. Reasons for opposition included the overconcentration of convenience stores in the area, air quality impacts from gas stations, lack of healthy food options, traffic safety and impacts, proposed on-site security, and potential crime. The other 2 people who spoke on this item included a representative from the Air Quality Management District and the adjacent property owner. So the representative from the Air Quality Management District just spoke to air quality permitting processes for fueling stations, just for the general knowledge of all those who were present at the meeting. And the adjacent property owner spoke in favor of the development at the vacant site, but expressed opposition over the intended use of the ingress and egress easement on site, so specifically for trash pickup and for gas truck movement and unloading. The applicant stated that the site accommodates gas truck unloading completely on site. So the CPAC, after all of the public comment, the CPAC deliberated on the project specifically in relation to the general plan amendment to the environmental justice element, and expressed hesitation in taking action prior to board adopting that element. But after some discussion, the South Sacramento CPAC voted to recommend denial of the project while echoing the comments stated by the representatives from the Environmental Justice Advisory Committee, and while stating there were physical limitations to the site due to the parcel size and location. Since that time, we have received the adjacent property owner did submit an opposition letter to you all dated December 9th of 2019, so that's included as attachment 9. And then we did receive another letter today with the same concern of the use of the existing access easement. The Design Review Advisory Committee met on August 22nd to review the design of the proposed convenience store and fuel canopy and the overall site design related to circulation and accessibility. The DRAC members indicated that the proposed materials and colors were appropriate for the project structures and appreciated the attention to detail in regards to the architectural features of the proposed convenience store facade. So after that meeting, the DRAC recommended the board find the project in substantial compliance with the countywide design guidelines. So the final hearing body for this project is the Board of Supervisors. The project was found consistent with the general plan and the South Sacramento community plan. Staff did look at the environmental justice element, the one recently adopted, so that analysis is on page 8 of the staff report. And then although the project is requesting deviations from primary service station use standards and zoning code development standards, through the use permit and special development permit request, staff found that the general findings can be made to support these deviations from the zoning code. The initial study and negative declaration prepared for the project identified that the project would result in less than significant impacts, and the subject parcel meets all location requirements for new primary automobile service stations. Also, the proposed project is compatible with surrounding existing land uses, and it would eliminate blight from a heavily traveled intersection and would create an attractive street corner. It would also deter transient and criminal activities by having an active use at the site that has been vacant for quite some time. So based on staff's analysis, we recommend the following actions to the Planning Commission that they make to the Board of Supervisors. And I can answer any questions, and we also have some representatives from Department of Transportation who can answer any traffic questions as well. So,
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Start with questions?
Do you have a question?
Yes.
Let's start.
You want me to start? Okay. Hi, Kimber. Good evening.
Hello.
A couple of questions for you. Site access.
Mm-hmm.
Did the applicant give you a diagram depicting how the fuel truck is going to be completely encapsulated on site without parking in the easement?
No, but I believe they brought some here today. Yes.
Okay. And then the other question is, was there any discussion on any I know it's not on the applicant's site, but since the applicant is going to use the easement, is there any, because I'm not sure what condition the easement is there any requirements on improving the easement so it's not full of potholes or items like that?
Right, so that's completely within the easement itself, the actual agreement. So it would be kind of a civil matter between the two on who maintains it and who does all of that.
Current condition of the easement, is it fully?
It states,
So I
it's a very old easement, so it is kind of hard to read, but I think it was included in the
current.
Well, excuse me, we'll have an opportunity for the applicant to speak, so we'll get to you in just a second.
So it doesn't state who would be maintaining it. It just says that it is an ingress and egress easement of persons and motor vehicles over and across that certain parcel of real property described as follows. So there isn't specific language on who would be maintaining it.
And then on the parcel map, it indicates a 5-foot electrical easement. So is that within the 20-foot easement, or is it additional to the 20-foot easement? Because it's unclear on the image in the package.
Yes, I believe the answer is that it's unclear. Yeah.
Yeah, I think our review of it is that it is unclear of whether or not that's within the easement or whether it's a separate easement.
Okay.
The problem with it being a separate easement, an intervening easement, as today's letter says, that interpretation would eliminate the access rights granted by the original easement.
That's what I'm getting at.
So I don't know if that interpretation makes sense. My thinking is that it's probably overlapping.
Okay, then overlapping, I can see.
Otherwise, it just doesn't.
Makes sense, and that.
Right, you can't,
You can't drive over someone.
I think is a pre-existing, the ingress egress easement was from 1964, I think. So I think that was the earlier easement. If there was an intervening easement that separated that, the first easement would no longer exist. I don't think that's a reasonable reading of the easements.
And then one other question, Kemper. The applicant's exterior elevation on Stockton Boulevard indicate there's glazing on some of three of the arched openings. And do you know, are those planned to be vision panels, or are those just like fake or transom or some sort of spandrel light?
My understanding is that they would be windows, so you would be able to see
vision.
into the convenience store, yes.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
More questions, Commissioner?
I'm glad I let Commissioner Hom go first.
Nope, but no?
No, he asked my question.
Okay. I have a couple before we move on. With respect to your analysis with the environmental justice element, no, it was approved by the board December, correct? Can you just expand a little bit on your analysis? Because when we heard it, there were several options, I think, with respect to convenience stores and how you were going to handle that specific issue outlined in the EJ element, and options for the board to consider. Asking for a little bit more detail on your analysis of how this interacts with that.
So I'll start, and Kimber can add to it. The environmental justice element that was adopted by the board included these policies that staff has put into the analysis for this report. In addition to that, staff laid out, as part of the item before the board, a number of potential implementation measures for further discussion with the board. The board did not provide direction at their hearing in December about which direction they wanted to head in terms of addressing the overconcentration concerns. So that those follow-up actions are part of a work program for planning and environmental review to follow up with the board at a later date in terms of crafting some sort of implementation measure.
So then the policy kind of moving forward, as you've kind of outlined in your analysis here, is just to take those specific concerns associated with overconcentration, safety, lighting, crime, et cetera, and mitigate them and address them through conditions and design and other aspects.
That's correct.
Okay.
Did you want me to go over specific policies, or were you?
No, okay. That's good. Answers my question.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll bring the applicant up now.
Good evening, Chair Martinson, Brian Holloway, and Commissioners Brian Holloway, Holloway Land Company, representing Tekken and Associates and 7-Eleven. First thing I'd like to do is thank our planner, Kimber Gutierrez, did a really great job on our staff report and all the analysis that she needed to go through. So really appreciate that and want to thank her for that. We have read the staff report, and we have read all the the letters between the attorneys, and we've read all the conditions of approval, and we agree with them. In terms of the easement has existed for a very long time. The easement served a former fuel station at this location, which used that easement. So we believe that the easement stands valid, and the adjacent property owner is in error on their interpretation of that. It's been used, it exists, it's in place. In terms of the windows, there was a question about the windows, and my understanding, the architect just told me they are clear windows. So that's good. I think that was the only other question we have. Again, we appreciate staff's good work. We in agreement with all the conditions, and we look forward to your deliberations. Questions?
I do have a question. So in the simplest terms possible, if for whatever reason the easement were no longer available to this property owner, what impact would that have on this project?
We would find another way to get the trucks in and out, or we would negotiate the acquisition of the easement we already own. It would end up, most likely it would end up in court, and there would be some kind of a decision, but the project would go forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hi, Brian. Good evening. So I'll re-ask the question to you and ask the staff. How is, because the 20-foot ingress-egress easement is used by both properties. So if you park a fuel truck in the easement while you're loading the fuel tanks with fuel, you could encumber the neighbor's use of that easement. So how do you maintain your fueling of the
Do we need
of your facility completely on site?
trucks in the easement?
I don't know if it's okay. I'm Mark
Go.
Deacon with Deacon Associates.
Yeah. This is the developer.
So this is a truck path of how the truck enters into and over the tanks and enters onto the site and then will also leave. So this easement estate was actually conveyed to us by deed, both the land and the easement estate. And then this collective parcel, like when a surveyor takes that description and puts it into their software, it closes. We get closure, so we have a full, complete parcel. So if there was like a gap or something like that, it wouldn't close. You'd have two separate parcels instead of one, if that makes sense. One developable area, but we would not be proposing to park anything in the easement. So it would turn in, come here to fuel, turn out. And this is inside. And here's the tanker, how it would.
So the offloading of the fuel products will be taking place on the actual property, not in the easement. The easement is just access.
Then let me ask a question relative to the graphic that you're presenting. During business hours, the fuel truck comes in, parks as you depicted. Now your customers renders your fuel island somewhat inoperable during that time period.
No.
So I would say that one side would probably be blocked. You're 100% right. I think that they can still get in and out, if that makes sense, so they can get around. But I think operations maybe from 7-Eleven can speak a little bit more to the timing of fueling, when it comes, how long it takes. Crystal is with Crystal.
Okay, and let me ask one more question before I let you escape. How do you encourage the fuel delivery guys to use exactly the graphic you're proposing?
Yeah, and I think, yeah, thank you.
Crystal Justice, 7-Eleven. So we go through and we create all of these drawings and have them approved through our fueling department. We own the actual company that delivers the fuel, so they have to follow these drawings. There's really, a lot of times there's no other way they can get in and out of our property line, so they have these, and we have the same drivers that do these routes every week in and out. So we have some measures to make sure that they follow these different routes. So as you can see, they would come in and move around. The approximate time that they're in our property line is about 20 minutes, give and take. So it may be a little bit longer if they have to wait for a car to move, or they're not going to block a car if something's parked there. But they're very efficient at getting in and out and dropping that fuel.
Crystal, what time of day do they normally arrive?
We arrange it typically it's 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. But we can move that around and make some recommendations based upon travel patterns, busy times of day. When usually in a more urban area, we try not to do that during rush hour traffic and that type of thing. Our transportation department has some traffic studies that they look at for those type of things also.
If I'm understanding correctly, I think what we're saying is that, just to kind of say it back, is that there's no way to physically prevent them ever from parking in the easement, but that they have protocols in place that say, this is your truck path, this is how you fuel. And it sounds like those protocols and that path, is that fair to say that that's a big part of the job of driving the trucks?
Yes.
So I think they're doing everything they can to promote adherence to the plan, if that makes sense.
So Crystal, after they offload the product into the tank, next to the tank, is there any reason for them to park on the property? Don't they move on to the next?
No, they go in, they drop off the fuel paperwork, and then they move on to the next location. So they're not shopping or staying around or parking there in and out. If they do need to take a restroom break or whatnot, they go to the specific locations on their route that have been identified as those type of locations.
Okay, if I can just expand one more question beyond that. Would you guys be opposed to adding condition to approval using this graphic and saying that be a condition of approval that all the fuel offloading could be completely on-site as per your
Isn't that part
graphic?
of the condition?
I'm fine with that. As long
Sounds
as-
good.
One more thing you can tell your truck driver, don't do it because you're violating all of our protocols and our conditions of approval.
Yeah.
So
That might be appreciated by the adjacent owner, too.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do not see anybody signed up for public comment. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak on this item? Okay. Comments, thoughts, motions?
Since I've been done,
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to go with staff recommendations with the added condition of limiting the fuel delivery to be on-site as per the graphic, if you can supply it to staff as a condition of approval.
Yeah, give it an exhibit number or some kind of designation.
Whatever the gentleman held up. I
Exhibit
don't know if
A.
staff has a copy of it or.
So maybe what we could do is just leave it. We could leave it, but we
Right, it actually is part of the evidence now for you guys, for the clerk to keep,
Okay, yeah,
or at least have some kind of facsimile of it.
And then if you like, we can send the same thing to Kimber or email to you all.
I think an email would be appropriate too.
And then you can confirm it's the same as you like.
I'd like to
It'll be
second
here-
that motion.
If you need it for the board, it'll be, the clerk's office will have it.
Okay, perfect. I see what you're saying. Perfect. I think that'd be great.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote with those members present.
Thank you. Let's see, next item, anything to report?
I do not have anything to report
Okay,
today.
any scheduling matters? Madam Clerk?
No?
No more public comment? We are adjourned.
Well done.
Hey, I can pick up my daughter.